Hey guys, welcome to the assembly for the HelloFit system if you have a rack that's other than phenoX. So if you have our rack, it's going to be a piece of cake because all the hole spacings are exactly the same. So right now I'm just going to demonstrate some of the things that you're going to want to know when mounting your rack, so some general reference points. And right now I actually have mine mounted in an alternate way. This isn't how they'll usually come to you unless we kind of discuss this ahead of time. So I do a lot of custom work, so just depending on which way it comes to you, it's really going to be the same principles. So this is one of the fittings that would normally, I spun it on this one and actually have it running upwards because I have bolts passing through on my rack. That would have been in the same holes that these had to pass through, so no big deal. In this system, ton of opportunity to connect things in different ways, in different places. So that's what I did. I just took this fitting off, flipped it to the top, and then piece of cake. Now I have it hung. I actually mounted this one higher than I typically would because normally this crossbar would be matched right to the top of this. So these two holes would be the actual holes that would line up with this fitting here, which would be this way. Now I have another fitting for people that have racks that have holes already that are within the spacing, that this is a groove here. So depending on what your holes are in your rack, you can use anywhere within the groove that would be in here for your hole spacing. So that works out nicely if you happen to have holes and that they can fit anywhere within that distance. So again, you might just have to let me know what your hole spacing is, and we'll have to decide, do you have to drill a hole, which a lot of people are going to have to do, and a lot of people have, and it's not a big deal at all. So I'm going to give you some general measurements as to where this is placed, where I actually put my holes. If you have a rack that you're going to have to drill a hole, I'm going to tell you what the measurements are for my rack, the way that I have built it, designed it, and tested, so you can have it the same way that we know works really well. But if you have a situation where you need to mount this a little bit higher than the numbers I'm going to give you, that's perfectly fine. The arms telescope a ton, so they hang way down. If you need to go up a little bit higher, no big deal. If you need to go lower, you just have to think about headroom. You're probably not going to want to have this crossbar lower where you're going to hit your head if you're coming in to do squats. So just something to think about. It can be mounted pretty much anywhere, but you're going to want to be within probably a few inches above or below the numbers that I'm about to give you. So when I have mounted it and tested it, the holes from the ground to this first hole in this fitting is the number I'm going to give you right now. And then I'll give you the second one to the center. So this is going to get you pretty close. And again, if it's not perfect, no big deal. So from the ground to the bottom hole, I have 74 inches to the center. So if you were going to drill a hole in your rack, go to 74 inches, centered, and drill it. If it has to be down or there's a hole that's already close, okay, that's cool. Just match to the other side. So this one is 74. And then one of the things that I would suggest doing is taking a piece of cardboard, place it on the back side of this fitting, and draw with a marker onto that cardboard to essentially make a pattern. Then you could drill that cardboard out right where those holes are, and you're going to have the exact spacing as the fitting that might be coming with it if it's not the slotted one. So if it's a slotted one, you can do the same thing, just make sure that it's going to fit within that slotted portion where the bolt itself will fit. So that first number was 74. The second hole is about 76. So again, you can have it very accurate by using that pattern right off the fitting itself. That's probably what you're going to want to do. If you make your holes a little bit bigger, so the hardware that generally comes with it is going to be 1/2 inch. Length is going to be determined by the rack that you have. So we're going to have to discuss that first. So it'll be different bolts for different racks. So lengthwise passing through. So again, those are the numbers there. Typically, the bottom of the cross rail, this here, where I normally have it mounted with the fittings in these 2 holes, where I just give you the measurements to, the bottom of the cross rail, just for reference for you guys, is about 77 inches. So if you decide you're going to mount it on your rack and you want it to be about the same because you know this works really well, the bottom of this crossbar is at 77 inches. So now you can just get it close. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. So that's just some general references. As far as these go, if you have to move the fitting upright, then you're going to want to pass it through with the head, the hex head, passing up and the nut on top. So there's different situations. If you get it and there's something in the way, it's probably not a big deal. Just know that it's possible to move that fitting to the upper side. If you have more room, you have like a pull-up bar or something that's in the way to get you close to that 77 inches, just take it and move it up top. No big deal. So in most situations, there's going to be a solution to the problem. And if you guys do run into problems mounting this, then get a hold of me and we'll figure out a solution. There's usually something that we can figure out to any problem. So I think that's about it as far as information that you guys will need. When you're ordering it, I'm going to need the distance inside to inside measurements. So I know some of Rogue stuff is mostly 43 inches. PRX is, I think that's what the brand is usually almost 42 inches. But I'll need a real accurate number from inside to inside because I can custom cut this bar to the specific measurements of your rack. So you'll have to give me those dimensions. The other dimension that I would need is the distance. If you have a 3x3 rack, whatever it is from this side to this side, I just need to know that distance so I can send the proper hardware for your specific situation. So if you guys are confused or have any problems, make sure you reach out. You know, I'm always available to help you guys get this figured out. So again, mounting on an alternate rack from phenoX. Yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions. See you later.